Well, 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 here we go. We finally made it. Hello, Americans and everybody else in the world of any persuasion or preference. It's Friday here. Of course, across the date line, it's already Saturday. Ha ha, as my friends over there know. Whew, oh, boy. Well, the shit is slowly hitting the fan in several different areas. And we're getting a lot of folks that are being redundant with their reporting and their podcasts and their video blogs. And I watch everything, so it probably disturbs me. Well, it doesn't disturb me, but it kind of annoys me to a great extent. But then again, I'm incorrect for assuming that everybody watches everything. I watch everything because this is part of what I do. This is the fun that I have, okay? So I'm going to lash out here a little bit. And the reason why is I'm as much against violence as the most nonviolent among us. Yeah, I totally believe in nonviolence. I believe that what happened during the civil rights movement was a total indicator that nonviolence is the way to get these things accomplished. Now, there's a lot of perspective there. I think you have to put what happened with the civil rights movement in the perspective of what happened during the failure of Reconstruction. I don't want to go into that. There's plenty of historians who have, and they've done, in my opinion, a fantastic job. So I'm going to lash out a little bit. And I'm lashing out against TYT, Anna and Jake, about the nonviolent stuff. Now, I'm in complete agreement with you on Gaza. Oh my gosh, I couldn't be in greater agreement with anyone on anything regarding Palestinians and the fate that they have suffered due to the hands of the IDF. Now, I don't like to say Israel because I don't think that the IDF represents all of Israel. I know they represent a pretty good chunk of Israel, but not all of Israel. There's a lot of folks in Israel who are against what's going on in Gaza. Right. We don't know the exact numbers, but it's up there. Now, what we have to condemn here is the IDF and their leadership. We have to condemn Bibi, of course, the Likud, and the other conservative parties that want to commit a complete genocide of Palestinians so they can take over the Levant and try to reclaim the phony, mythical Solomonic Empire, which never existed. And there's a lot of historical proof, or historical data to show that there probably was no Solomonic Empire, right? So hit the road, Shlomo. Okay, there's a lot of great Jewish people. There's a lot of great Israeli people. Bibi and his gangs are not a group of them. If a nonviolent solution can be effected there for that problem, it is the way to go. Now, the 20-point plan, it's not going to happen. Bibi's not going to do the 20-point plan. No. He might like to see Trump get the Nobel Peace Prize because he thinks Trump is his unwitting dupe. And we don't know how much of that is correct. I mean, is he a pawn? Is Trump a pawn for Bibi? Or is this all due to donors and AIPAC and corrupt pieces of shit orgs like that? Okay, so two things. Don't support AIPAC, one. Two, don't support any companies or any individuals politically. Don't give them any money that support the current IDF and administration in Israel. Don't do it. It's a very simple, nonviolent way to effect that, okay? So there's that one in a nutshell. I don't know if anything's going to happen short of the genocide being interrupted by force. I don't want to say that. However, you're kind of giving the Christians what they want, the prelude to the Armageddon that they surely think should happen, which really, if you go back to the people that really know about the history of the book of Revelations, you'll see that what they thought was Armageddon probably happened, when the Romans destroyed Judah and Jerusalem and all of that, when they did all of that. And there never was a Solomonic Empire. There never was this great state of Israel. No, it was always kind of small. The biggest Israel ever was a colony of Rome. Right. So let's not get into that distortion. Now, of course, they have a homeland, blah, blah, blah. However, a two-state solution, it's better than no state solution. The one-state solution with a truly democratic Israel, which should be renamed Palestine, because that's really what it is, that would, in my opinion, be the solution. So I'm waiting to hear from Cenk and Anna's take on what the solution is there for a peaceable, nonviolent solution. I'm waiting. I haven't heard anything outside of, better diplomatic negotiations, which that the scumbag who's there, that goddamn scumbag from Arkansas, he's not going to do anything, because he's all about the Christian mythology of Revelation. And this is why so many of the evangelical Christians that are your Christian nationalists, they're not really Christians. They're a perverted blasphemy of Christianity, in my opinion, being a former Christian, right? No, these guys are all about let's have Armageddon so Jesus can return and establish his 1,000-year kingdom on earth. That's enough of that crap. Okay, so the Israel thing's bad. I hope there's a nonviolent solution. I really want there to be a nonviolent solution. However, there may not be, and it may be a solution close to the Armageddon. What needs to happen probably is a major coup. Hopefully nonviolent needs to happen, where Likud is deposed and the other conservative parties are ousted. Okay, and then we could have a real solution in Israel. Okay. Number 2, Ukraine. Okay, so everybody's crying about the violence and the death and the destruction in Ukraine, and I don't like it either. I hate it. But how are you going to get Putin and Russia to do real peace and a nonviolent solution when what they really want to do, what Putin's goal is to take Ukraine and put Ukraine back into the Russian Federation, or in the Russian Federation, to sort of recreate that nonsense that was the Soviet Union. Now, look, I'm not a Marxist. I do lean a bit socialist, okay, because I believe in worker co-ops, and I think that none of these organizations should be owned by the government, that they need to be worker-owned, okay? And I don't think every business could be that way. I've stated my position on this several times, okay? But let's look at what the real problem is in the world after I finish my little rant on Ukraine. The real problem in the world is capitalism, and I'll return to that here in a minute. In Ukraine, is there really a peaceful solution so long as Putin wants all of Ukraine? No. Is there going to be a peaceful solution so long as Putin has occupied territories and wants more? No. It's not going to happen. Zelensky and the Ukrainians will fight to the death, and they are fighting to the death. And there's a lot of, look, I love Richard Wolff, but Rick, I think you're really wrong about who's winning that war. I think the war is pretty much not a stalemate. It's not a checkmate, that's for sure. And I don't think the Russians are winning. I think the Ukraine is gaining advantage as days go on. I just don't see a peaceful solution. I think the solution, and I don't like to say this because I want it to be a nonviolent, peaceful solution, but I think the solution is when the Europeans come in and they beef Ukraine to the max, and we do too, because the puss bag in charge of the U.S. says, okay, this is it. We're going to send billions in aid over there, and we're going to let Ukraine gain a bigger advantage and win this war with thousands and thousands of drones and air support that's needed to do that, okay? So I don't really think, now, Cenk and Anna, I haven't heard you guys or any of these other, the pro-peace pundits, which are all basically capitalists, okay? This is the problem, okay? I haven't heard any solutions for a real peace there that doesn't destroy Ukraine's national posture and their sovereignty. I don't hear anything. Okay, I'd love to hear it. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Maybe you've said it in other rants that you've made, but I don't know. I wish that nonviolence was possible there, but I don't think it is. Okay, so here we get to the real problem with everything in the world right now. And this is what allows authoritarians to take power, whether they call themselves communists, socialists, fascists, whatever they call them. They're still authoritarians. And what they want is absolute power. And they'll do anything they can to establish their absolute power. Anything. They'll do whatever it takes to establish that kind of power. And what's at the root of it? What allows it? Capitalism. Now, in authoritarianism, it's already there. They've already got the power. So it doesn't matter whether they call themselves a Marxist. It doesn't matter if they call themselves a national socialist or whether they call themselves whatever. Okay? It doesn't matter what they call themselves. Ideologically and governmentally, they're authoritarians. And they want absolute power. And capitalism allows them to do that. Now, there are checks and balances you can put in capitalism with regulation and so on and so forth, so long as you don't let an authoritarian take control and do what's happening here and get rid of the regulations, or ignore them and just do complete lawlessness like what's happening here in the United States. And it's pretty wrong. Let me tell you, it's pretty wrong what's going on here, and it's being allowed, and there's too many cowards who are capitulating. Now, if you want to leave the country and go live somewhere else because you want to live that other place for other reasons other than you don't like what's going on in the U.S., I'm with you. I'm with you there because it's getting pretty expensive to live here now. Okay, there's a lot of drawbacks. We got a lot of crazy people. I mean, 60,000 or more, or 200,000 people in total going to a death rally, a supposed memorial celebration of life, which turns into a political facade. It was a political facade is what it was. It was a total, God, it was horrible. The great thing about it was Erica Kirk, who really came out and said, hey, look, we need nonviolence here. We don't need any of these problems. It's terrible what happened, blah, blah, blah. And that was the only good thing. And she forgave the shooter, whoever that is. Now, of course, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about the shooter and all kinds of stuff like that. I don't want to go into that. We'll find out, hopefully, as time goes on, and it doesn't get buried in cover-ups. Okay? So capitalism is the problem, and it's unregulated anarcho-capitalism, which is what we've got going on here, and it sets the stage for fascist takeover. And that's what's going on here in the United States. It's a fascist takeover. Okay? And we have to non-violently fight back, okay? We on the center, the independents, the left, even people that were conservative or still are conservative, moderates, we all have to unite and fight back on this common cause. And the common cause here is to eradicate fascism. We need to get rid of fascism. It needs to go. We don't need it. We don't want authoritarians. And look at the lily-livered Republicans in the Congress, in the Senate, and in the House. And look, there's a lot of Democrats that are not standing up either. There are quite a few now that are standing up. And you guys that constantly berate and put down Democrats, you're not doing the Democratic Party any favors by doing that. No, you're making it worse for them. What are you going to do? Jake and Anna, where's your third party? Where's your populist party? I know you got one, and I forget what the website is. I wouldn't dare say what it is and endorse it because you're full of shit, in my opinion. You don't have a cause that people are going to flock to. Both of you are a little bit rhetorically skewed a little bit. And Anna abandoning some Marxist leanings you had, that was ridiculous. Well, you kind of lost me about 80% there. Now, you do say some good stuff. Both of you say great criticisms of all kinds of different things, particularly corruption. But beating down the Democrats instead of going on, and Cenk, you did make some great attempts on trying to help Democrats and progressives get it into our government. And some of it worked. However, your fight was too short. This is a long game. This is long game. And this shit has to keep going. And it's not going to happen from your little weirdo, phony populist crap. And it's not going to happen with capitalism. No. Capitalism needs to be watered down a lot more because it is wage slave oriented and it's profits before people. And until you guys keep calling that out in the correct ways and keep assailing the corruption that happens with this type of unbridled capitalism, we don't have a viable future. That's for sure.